So, hello everyone here. Today I want to talk about a video about Diablo 4. Right? So I've been playing the game the whole weekend, and I used to be a developer on Diablo 3. Right? So if you're interested in that, please subscribe, press the like button, and I'm talking about how I feel that the game hasn't moved much since I worked it. And of course I also played Diablo 2 for hours. Right? Please take a bit of short summary of what I'm thinking about. I am not salty that I died, okay? That's not the reason why I'm doing this video. Or all the crashes, that's not the issue either, okay? Even though, yes, I played the beta the whole weekend, yes, it crashed all the time, guys. Like, all the time, and the queues for hours. No, in today's video here, I want to talk about, is Diablo 4 too safe? Is it too boring and lack of innovation? See, a lot of issue I have with this game, right, is that it basically is the exact same game again. And let me put out here, I've been playing Diablo 4 now the whole weekend, and I've tested every class, and I've beaten the game twice, so to speak, the Act 1. And the thing is that it is the exact same class again. We have the Barbarian, of course, we got the Sorcerers back, the Rogue is basically the assassin slash, whatever, shooter guy, dude is back. It's just like, yeah, it's fun, but it's the exact same thing we had earlier. So let's go in and talk about it in details. I think a big issue, right, in Diablo 4, and I say it again, I know I'm repetitive, but I say it to really emphasize it, right? I think the game is playing it too safe, right? Like I mentioned earlier, I worked on D3, right? And, playing D2 many years or something like that. Am I enjoying Diablo 4? I am, right? I played the whole weekend. Like I mentioned, I beat the game, right? Act 1, ergo then. And it was fun, but it really felt like I've been here before, right? Immediately when I heard that the game classes, or whatever, info for the classes, are exactly the same classes they've already seen before, right? I felt that I'll be disappointed. And when you're playing the game then, right? Here I'm playing the Rogue. Yes, it feels a lot like I'm playing the Hunter, right? The Hunter is called Demon Hunter in D3. Mixed with David Assassin, you have the traps and so on, and I've beaten for whole Act 1 with Hunter, or Rogue then, or whatever, you know what I mean? That's my point, it's just the exact same feeling, and it is definitely a little more of, yes, I'm getting what I want more of, right? It reminds me a lot of, for example, Star Wars 7, right? New Hope 2, where it's like, oh, they just did exactly what they did before. And what I mean is that, in a very, very specific terms, right, is that why don't we have a new class, right? So we have 5 classes. Why are all 5 of them, of course, repeat classes, right? I understand they can never go away from Barbarian, because there's always people that play Barbarian. And Necromancer, of course, was reintroduced, right, in the DLC for 3 and so on. And stuff like that. But I'm just like, my god, can't you take 2-3 new classes? What happened to having any kind of guts, Blizzard? Seriously, right? When I was there many years ago, like over 10 years ago, right? When I worked there, like, yeah, I'm feeling old, guys. I worked there 10 years ago. I'm feeling old. I worked there before everyone hated them, okay? In my defense, yeah. And back in my days, when it was better, right? It was like, man, we're taking chances. We're making new games. We're making Overwatch, right? We're making Hearthstone. I know the genre is, you know what I mean? But we're taking chances, right? We come up with new ideas here. When I'm playing D4 again, I'm enjoying it. Honestly, what I like the most is probably playing Sorcerers. Light Sorcerers would be the fun. I'm enjoying this, like, kiting them with the Rogue, jumping around and so on. But it's exactly the same thing, more or less. You have the evasion and so on. It just feels like, my god, why can't we have any new class? The Bard, the Dancer, I don't know, throw something in there. For example, I just played through Octopath Traveler 2, right? I did a review for that, list below. And in that game you have, the Dancer, the Samurai kind of guy, right? You have the Thief, etc. You have all the classes, right? You know what I mean? Why couldn't I have a Dancer in this game, for example? Like some kind of wind magic dancer, right? I'm not saying original, I'm just saying that there are so many other class archetypes, right? You can find in different games. And I feel that Diablo 4 is going back to the 5 safe one. It is really boring, right? And let me be honest here. I think that the DLC, I don't know this. I mean, I know a lot of people that work at the company, so this is not info I have currently. But I would definitely guess that the next DLC they will make, right, will of course be a recurring character. Probably the Paladin, right, will come in as a DLC, right? Similar to Necromancer in D3. And am I the only one that is fed up of playing the exact same thing over and over again? Again, I'm enjoying this game, right? I'm enjoying playing it. I probably played it for like 10-20 hours this weekend. Let's say 20 hours this weekend, right, for 3 days. But it really feels like, oh, I'm just playing exactly what I played when I was a kid, like when I was 15, like 20 years ago. I'm back at 20 years past time. Of course, there's some new mechanics and it flows smoother and so on. I'm not talking about all the crashes, but of course, storyline is more I guess immersive because it's more cutscenes on the way and a little bit like that. But I really do feel like, why haven't they done anything really new with the gameplay? And I know they can't go too far, but I think is that the fundamental issue is probably mostly that you have the exact same classes again, right? With more or less the exact same mechanics. I mean, Galen the Sorcerer, well, I think she has what's funnest to play. She has the exact same, elements again, right? Fire, lightning, ice. Couldn't she have some other elements? Couldn't she be like fire, earth magic? I know there's more druid, but you have a point. Couldn't she be something else? Make her, I don't know, water magic then. Okay, she could be lightning and water magic. And instead of fire, she could be wind. Okay, am I the only one? Couldn't you use something else instead? That being said, though, talking about the positives. Okay, so I think a big issue is the lack of innovation in classes, right? Massive issue. But what is a good thing then? Okay, the talent tree is better. Okay, let's just straight up here. What's the good things? So I don't want to use negative here. And again, I know people are working in this game, so I don't want to be too negative. But seriously, the talent tree much better than D3. Right? D3 also just had its skills. A lot of people hate the D3, right? Because it removes completely kind of the stat things and so on. I think D3 had a good gameplay. I mean, defending my own work a little bit, but still, I think it had better gameplay and so on than D2, perhaps. But I do agree that the lack of customization in D3 felt weird, right? You couldn't put your points in, didn't have a talent tree, because everyone loved the talent tree, right? They put in 20 points of skeleton, whatever. Now the new talent tree, or the grid net, you want to call it, it's kind of similar to FF10 maybe, or like X or whatever. FF10 probably did the first, I think. This kind of grid net system, some extent. I like it, Skill tree, yeah, it's good. It's interesting. You have a couple of different skills. At different levels, you get different kind of new center pieces, right? So, here you get like an imbued skill. You can pick one here. Here you get like an element skill, whatever, right? So it's interesting. It feels pretty streamlined in the sense that, yes, you get to level, let's say 12. Here you get, either poison this, and whatever, right? And the different combos, the different builds, etc. You have a lot of options. You can also decide not to actually put points on a new skill or whatever and improve a better one and so on. So the talent tree is a lot better than 3, obviously the hair one, and it is better than the second one too. I mean, the second one is iconic and it's very straightforward, but this one has a lot more depth to it, I think. That being said, though, I do think there are some very obvious combos. For example, I played Sorcerer a lot, and the Sorcerer is like, you get electric, and then you get a teleport, and then teleport shoots lightning around you. So it does feel like most of the straight-up build strat is like electric attack, teleport, electric attack. Like, it's just like fire, ice. You can point, it's just kind of the same thing. If you play rogue here, similarly, it's like, okay, vulnerable rogue build, and they are probably better builds than that. There are probably more depth to it. Of course, the whole video here, I will say, I wasn't able to beat the whole game, right? You can only play the first act in the demo, so you can't actually play the whole game. You can't get to like level 50 or whatever and get paragons and go up, so on. Certainly. But from this early game standpoint, it is definitely better, I think, than both D2 and D3, than the talent system. However, again, then it is so much streamlined. If there's some very, very basic builds that are, this is definitely much better. We're combining, for example, let's say you're half fire, half ice. That seems to be way worse than just being, full ice or full fire. That's my point. It's much easier to just going into like one elemental than trying to like diverse them. But again, maybe at max level, right? Maybe you get plus level 50. It might be a much better build to actually combine different elements and different all skills or whatever or so on. So we will see about that, and it's so. But at current level, doesn't seem like that. But still, much better. The storyline also feels a little more immersive. Of course, your character choose any random character accidentally there in the village kind of feeling, but still, if it's a little more talking to you personality, which I actually prefer in this game, where in all the other games, it's kind of like you're there seeing what's happening, right? Like in D2 and D3. So that is a little better. If it's like your character is a little more motivated to actually be the main character, so to speak, like you get into this poison thing with the blood, and now you have to fix the world, and the characters are talking more towards you. Another thing I also like in this game is that there's a lot more side quests, and you can do them a little bit however you want to do it. You can kind of, I want to run to the east now and do 3 quests over here, whatever. So, for example, my first class I played, the Rogue, when I beat Act 1, I had basically done the whole Act 1, just played the main story, and my friend was the same level as me. He's only doing all the side quests, he's doing all the dungeons, right? And I'm like, you haven't even done the main story yet? I've read it like level 20, I've done all the... like, what? Yeah, so that's good. We have a lot more flexibility. The enemies are set to your level. And I don't like that at all, like straight up, right? So honestly, no matter pet you take, yes, you can take any pet you want, east, left, top, down, whatever, right? But they're always your level, and I don't like that at all, honestly. I want to be able to feel like, okay, if I do this order of quests, right? Now, this save the lady in the tower quest could be super easy, because I'm level 20 or whatever, right? But instead the game, you set every quest to your level, so you never feel really overpowered. You know what I mean? You never get the feeling, and I think that's a lack, right? It reminds me of World of Warcraft, where you can like, by having every zone being your level, and so doing that expansions, you never get to be overpowered. But I want to be level 100 versus level 20 enemies. No, but that kind of feeling is weird. I'm like, no, some aspect, I want to get less XP and just kill them anyway. That being said, most normal enemies are too easy anyway. But I don't know, I feel a little bit like, nah, I kind of want it to be a little bit, some freedom, but also a little bit perhaps. And they never, in a good way, is that the bosses are never too easy, because they're also new level. It's still really easy though. I played only in hardcore, and I died like once, but like, yeah, I don't know. The reason I died to was because the boss did no damage to me at all, so I didn't really care, and suddenly he one-shot me. Yeah, I was like, oh, it's so boringly easily. Suddenly he one-shot me. But now, we have to talk about some of the issues as well though, right? Having played the game the whole weekend now, I crashed multiple times. The reason, for example, if you watch this video, while my recording here is basically me on low level, is that I did record me beating all the bosses in like one playthrough, right? But my PC crashed not once, not twice, but 4 times playing this game. And I'm talking like creating a green screen crash. So every time it happened, my recording, right, of my, I was recording playing, I wasn't streaming, I was recording it, playing with friends, the recording got corrupted, right? Because if it crashed my PC, which corrupted the actual recording files. So I was like, God, so I had to audit it. But honestly, yeah, the game is incredibly unstable, right? It was super laggy. Ignoring the queue time for 2-3 hours, it crashed many times for me and a lot of friends I played with, and we disconnected many times. One bug we found was that almost every time we were trying to teleport to a friend in a dungeon, it would disconnect you almost immediately, and you had to basically make sure that the friend, listen, we played, the guy in the dungeon couldn't be in a fight, and he couldn't keep loading assets. So when his asset loading was finished and wasn't in a fight, then you could teleport him, otherwise you would disconnect every time. So I was addressing it, but Jesus Christ, the game is super laggy, right? And a lot of issues in it, like connection issues, right? And crash issues and so on. It has to be said, right? And I'm a little worried also for D4, and I'm bringing it up mostly because it also has the typical feeling of old school D2, right? You could play it offline. This game you have to play it online, and the online isn't working very well at all. That being said, I think it's fair to say that this is open beta, right? And obviously, hopefully, this is gonna be fixed when the game is arrived. But this is like a pre-review, right, of the game here. And I think it's fair to say, though, that you maybe shouldn't buy the game, right, when it's first released. I am probably not gonna play the game personally when the game is released, right? We have C56 coming the same week, which I'm very hyped for, and I probably won't play this game the first week, I feel, because let all the bugs be fixed out, right? All the network be fixed. Yeah, the first few days are probably gonna be like this. I mean, hopefully I'm wrong, and thanks to this beta we had this week and last week, now they might have fixed all these bugs or whatever, right? But in my own experience, probably not. So that has to be addressed. You can't just ignore it, and it might be worth waiting a little bit. I think that's fair to say, right? But anyway, I'll just conclude back to my main point, right? The main point of the video is that I do feel that I have a big lack of innovation, right? Yeah. Again, I'm like what I'm getting, right? But I'm not really loving it because I've done the exact same thing before, right? Yes, the quests are slightly more open. The talent tree is slightly better. The evade button is better, I guess. And it flows somewhat better, again, ignoring the quest or whatever. But it's just like, my God, do I wish we had a new class? My God, do I wish maybe had a little bit of other input, maybe a little bit of other, more skill set and so on. And also, generally, the skills itself, right? It's not only the classes, I just want to get into things again here. It's not only that the class is to rogue again. She also has basically the same skills already seen, right? Why couldn't she have some other skills, right? Why is it the same kind of trap system already seen? And you can do so much stuff this side. I worked on many games in my life. There's so many mechanics you could have added instead. Having this exact thing over and over again. And I really do feel that I'm playing it the most safe, right? Same classes, same abilities, which comes from alteration to it, but it really feels like the exact same stuff again, right? Which is again is enjoyable, right? I am enjoying playing the exact same game again, in a sense. I am, right? I kept playing it, played a new character. I probably wouldn't have played every class if it wasn't because you can't play into Act 2, probably. But, it's like enjoyable, but it very much feels like safety food. Oh, this is kind of what I like to eat. I eat it every day. It's kind of the same thing. And I do really wish they would innovate. And I guess lastly, what I want to point out here with the talent trees in the class 1 is that, okay, fine, you have a better talent tree, but it should have had new skills in it, absolutely. And you have the same class and so on. And I guess what I want to point out really much is that why couldn't you have, let's say, 3 classic classes, right, and 2 new classes? You something like that, right? Is it a much to ask? Am I the only one? I mean, you think about it. You could have, for example, Barbarian. They're also gonna have the Barbarian, right? Barbarian, probably, and the other 4 basically could have been replaced, right? So you could have Barbarian plus 2 old classes, and then 2 completely new classes, right? That's probably what I would, if I was the lead designer. So I've done it. And probably, I know, because I worked there, my boss would be like, no, you can't do them anymore then. We're not going to sell a copy then, because people want their necromancer, sorcerer. And I'm like, yeah, but it's kind of boring. Can we have one new class? No, we need to be able to sell copies. That's what they would tell me. So, in my experience, this is very unlikely it's the designer's fault in that sense, right? It is probably very much more like, production leading issue, right? Like the company, the bosses upstairs that are forcing them to like do the exact same thing again. You're like, yeah, okay, fine. But it's unfortunate. I think this is a showing of that they're playing it very safe. They're playing it's very like management safe, right? This is exactly what people wanted 20 years ago. And you're like, yeah, but maybe one new class? The game doesn't even have one new class. Am I the only one? Obviously people are maybe, but having played the whole every act now with all the classes, they're all almost exactly the same. It is just like it is crazy to me. There's basically no innovation at all with any class either. They're all just more or less the same with a new talent tree, and the abilities are a little bit spread out. You get my point. It's the same abilities where they're seen over and over again. Jesus Christ, it's still kind of funny, but Jesus Christ, man, couldn't have at least one new class, or at least make the class somewhat different, right? They're way too similar. The druid is like, I can turn into a werewolf or a bear. Why not have the druid turn into the werewolf and another animal? You know what I mean? Another animal, a lynx or something. I don't know, a cat from Walker. The exact same animals. Like, this is crazy. Why can't it turn into an eagle or fly or something and shoot feathers or something? I don't know. I mean, it could have been so much more could have been done, right? Little innovation on it, but no, it's the exact same thing. Like I mentioned earlier, the sorcerer, it's the exact same 3 elements. You couldn't be like a water magician. It has to be ice, It feels like the... whatever, it's like a rant video now. Anyway, guys, if you want more of my video game stuff, right, subscribe, press the like button. A little bit ranty here, but I don't know. It's like... I just feel how to say it, right? It feels the lack of innovation is scaring me, right? And one thing I want to say here is that I feel the game industry, generally speaking, right, has turned pretty boring in that sense. It's safe. Same goes with Hollywood, right? It's too much like, what is safety, right? And I really wish games, especially these games, a lot of money. Honestly, it should be opposite. Indie games are usually more innovative, right? But it should actually, in a way, be the opposite. Where you have a huge company with a lot of $1 billion, which if we can make really interesting new gameplays, we can afford it. But instead, of course, you get the more safest. But I think this is an issue, right, in the industry, that we see this in more and more companies. And Blizzard, of course, has been in it for years, though. It's not something new. It's nothing new at all. I'm not saying that. But, yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, guys, have a good day, and I'll see you.